Assalamu alaikum everyone. Hello and welcome again. In this video, we will continue our video demonstration for this remaining transaction buttons. But before that, I just want to talk about how to bypass the validation in our leave request date range. In our last video, I had mentioned that we cannot request a leave that starts with date that already passed. But what if there's an instance that we really need to do that? Of course, there is a way. We can use our developer account. Basically, our developer account is our cheat code. But note that every time we log in into our developer account, we will see it in our activity log that the admin account was used. Before we jumped into our main discussion, I want to tackle also a feature in our request form. I forgot to talk about this last time. So in our leave request form, we have this request joining button. Before we can proceed with this, we have three validations. First is the end date. If the end date is not less than today's date, we will receive an invalid date notification. Then the second validation is the flight date. If this field is empty, it will ask the user to provide a flight date. Then lastly, we need to mark this vacation as done before we can generate a rejoining request. So once all of these validations are met, we can now proceed to our rejoining form. It has the same functionality. Just click this generate icon to initialize our record. Then we provide the arrival date and rejoining date. Arrival date must not be equal or greater than the present date. And rejoining date also must not be less than the arrival or greater than today. The actual leave days will be calculated based on the actual flight date. This is the reason why we require it in our validation. After that, we can save this request and also we can do a preview or print the request just like in our leave form. So that's it. Let's proceed to our employee main form and discuss the remaining transaction buttons. First button here is the update QID. We can see in our data entry form under the document details that the QID number and the expiry date are both highlighted, meaning these fields are locked for editing in our employee form. So we will not be able to edit it directly in this form. So in order to update it, we need to create first a record in our QID monitoring. We just click this one. Then we will be redirected to the QID entry form. So we just need to input the QID number and the expiry date. And a message confirmation will appear every time we make changes in this record. Once we save it, we can go back to our form, then refresh it to show the update. The reason why we do this transaction or update separately is because we have a QID monitoring in our interface. So every time we open this QID expiry section, we will be notified about the expired QID. A notification will appear and we can open the form, so we will be able to view the list. And there is also a print button here, and we can also send this list via email to the in charge. The other reason is for our activity log. I had mentioned in my previous video that any significant changes in our record will be logged for us to trace the record's history. So by having a separate function, we are able to segregate what kind of changes is made in our employee record. We will see here in our log record the form where we made the changes and the employee number. So by just looking to this log, we will be able to recognize the changes that has been made. And we can also open that record by double clicking it. So let's go back to our employee form. The next button is regarding the salary. This is where we break down the salary package of the employee. But this feature is only available for level 5 accounts. So in this form, we only need to input the salary amount based on this breakdown. The next button is the bank details. This is where we record the bank account of the employee for the salary or the salary card. I believe this is self-explanatory, so there's no need to explain further about this function. Then the last function we have here is petty cash. Not all employees will have a petty cash. So in here, we enroll the employee as a cash holder. And you will see here in the entry form the cash limit. This is where we set the amount limit for that cash holder. At the right side, we will see a statement of account as per the petty cash transactions. Anyway, we will have a separate discussion for petty cash because we have a separate feature in our database on how to record petty cash. Lastly, we have a special mention here, the active button. We use this button to toggle the status of the record, so we can change the record from active status to inactive and vice versa. If the record is inactive, we will receive a warning message telling us that the record is inactive once we open that record. And you will see also that the data entry fields are disabled. So basically, we will not be able to do any addition in the records if it's inactive. So with that, let's conclude our discussion for employee form. In our next video, we will discuss about how to generate a report. We will also explore our search forms and discuss a little bit more about our alert notifications. So that's it. Again, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.